dare I say, the country's top national security attorney, co-founder of Whistleblower Aid, litigated a number of the JFK-related cases. It's good to see a counselor, as always. There's two ways this happens, right? One is that it's an authorized leak in some ways, and we see that in Washington where someone leaks something intentionally that may be classified because they were told to do it. The other is that someone's freelancing. Which one does this seem like to you?
Evening, Leland. Always a pleasure. Well, there could be a third option, right? Actually, even a fourth. There could be a hack into the systems that would present maybe an even greater national security threat. It could also be an error. And by that, I mean someone could have mistakenly put the document into a system that was accessible from the outside, or someone just really screwed up. We don't know. We don't know any of those.
If it was one of those
two, all we do know is
if it was one of those two, don't you think they would have come out and said either it was a hack or this was unintentional? I mean, it seems as though those would be much more plausible explanations and politically palatable explanations when you've got Israel saying, you guys just hung us out to dry.
Well, actually, on the hack standpoint, I could see the agencies, and we're talking about the National Geospatial Agency, the NGA, and the National Security Agency, the NSA. You know, no such agency. That was the monocle for the NSA for decades. We're talking about satellite imagery and surveillance at some of the highest levels. If there was a hack, the U.S. government would want to ensure that that actually wasn't known, especially, obviously, Iran or whomever would know that they penetrated the system, but publicly, no. Now, you know, the information in general, the question always is with many of these documents that come out, who actually is harmed by it? And by that, I mean, the Israelis know what they're doing engaged with now. Obviously, the Iranians likely know what the Israelis are doing by way of troop movements and other machinery. Who doesn't know? The general population, the United States, the Israelis perhaps on the ground, the citizenry. There is probably very little in this information, these documents, that is going to cause Israel a problem with whatever its next steps will be in Iran. But it is embarrassing, obviously, to the U.S. government because top secret information disseminated to what we call the Five Eyes, our four other partners, you know, the United Kingdom, Australia, Canada, et cetera, that information could not be protected.
Yep.
And that's why the Justice Department will be involved and each of the agencies will be involved to try and determine how this leak or disclosure occurred, whether it was malicious, criminal, or something where someone just screwed up, or as you said, maybe even deliberate.
Okay,
authorized.
So there's a lot to digest. Respectfully, I lived in the Middle East for 4 years. I lived there long enough to not believe in coincidences, that this would just happen to happen 2 days ahead of time, ahead of the Israeli strike. Not to mention that if you're Iran and you hacked into this top secret computer system, probably you wouldn't want to put it out on Telegram and Twitter for the United States to know that you hacked it. So let's just deal with the most likely scenario, which is that somebody accessed it, somebody gave it to the Iranians or sent it in some way that they could see it so that we could not, to your point, give the Iranians some big heads up, but create this rift between Israel and the United States, embarrass the United States. How hard is it in cases like this, if it is a leaker, to actually find the leaker?
So historically, leak cases were incredibly difficult. I've represented many people who were even accused of them or being investigated. And it wasn't until the last really 20 years, because of technology, because of emails, because of the internet, that it is easier for the U.S. government to identify who these individuals might have been because everything is tracked. There are numerous cases where in the last 15 years, people who were prosecuted under the Espionage Act, I don't think it's because the government's going after whistleblowers more or trying to really show something different than what they wanted to 3, 4, 5 decades ago. It's that the evidentiary trail allows these people to be caught. And that's why Reality Winner was caught, because they actually literally traced which printer she used because they had a record of it. Now, the problem in this case could be how many people had access to this information? How many databases could someone go into, even though they had no need to know, like Snowden did in his case a decade ago, and pull or retrieve the information? And will that be traceable? So there could be dozens, hundreds, thousands of people who had lawful access to this information. And then the government's going to have to try and figure out, could they trace how the information got to Telegram and this pro-Iranian poster who's apparently been at it for several years.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.